Hello there, my name is Daniel Weishood and I join you from Jerusalem. I will be talking about pets, well-being and COVID-19, an autoethnography on the subsistence of a human with cats and dogs. Hi Isabella. Qualitative research on the human-animal relationship shows that pets generally have a positive effect on the mental health of humans. There are indications, though, that this effect is complex and influenced by many variables. Therefore, it was suggested that qualitative research could shed more light on this situation. This autoethnography, transcending the wall between Israel and the Palestinian Authority, describes how the furry friends of one single person affected his well-being and mental health during the COVID-19 pandemic. I will share with you the background, method and conclusions of this little research. I will tell you a bit about me. I'm a single person in my 50s, living by myself in an apartment in the outskirts of Jerusalem, Israel. This is close to the separation wall, behind which is the Palestinian Authority. There I have a friend named Ahmed. About the cultural aspects of our friendship, I have published a book. The reason that I mention him, I will tell you in a moment. I have known periods of anxiety and depression, and I also made a couple of suicide attempts in younger years. But my state was never severe enough to warrant medication. I'm a senior lecturer at Hadassah Academic College and have a flourishing clinical practice. On the premises of my Palestinian friend's estate, I take care of 3 dogs and 7 cats. I must say though that this number is changing as some animals appear or disappear, are born or perish. On top of the hierarchy is Brownie, who you can see in the picture, and she is the head of the troop. In addition, there are 2 dogs named Buff. My friend and one of the other caretakers, Abu Fahad, choose to give them the same name. I have no idea why. In addition, there are anonymous cats. They didn't get any name. And at home, I've got my cat Isabella, who originally came from these premises as well, got so ill that I had to take her home, and since then she's with me. What I realized in this period was that my involvement with animals drained energy and caused distress, but in addition had a therapeutic effect. It was crucial in stress relief and prevented depression. So how was this possible? That is what I wanted to find out. This study is an autoethnography in which I am both the researcher and the subject. I focused on human-animal interactions during the period 2020 to 2022, the period in which we had the COVID-19 pandemic. I did a text analysis of WhatsApp messages and also recollections of memories and introspection in which I am trained as a clinical psychologist. To give you just an example, I will read the message on the side from my phone, which is as follows. Did I tell you that Isabella pooped on the therapist my chair? Just a symbolic poop, but still a piece of shit. I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but of course it was moments before a client was about to enter, so I just sat on it. A message I wrote to my sister-in-law read as follows. Things with me could have been better. I feel exhausted because of all the coping, clients, my body, students, Isabella. And there were many more messages like this. In fact, often the messages about pets had to do with enervating situations. For 2 weeks, I browsed through my messages and memories and looked for recurring themes regarding the beneficial aspects of the human-animal relationship. I found that it's possible to divide the topics in 4 themes. These are nurturing, social contact, activity and play, and intimacy and touch. I will now expand on each of these themes. Nurturing pets gave significance and meaning. Through them, I felt important, at least as much as for my clients and students. For many others, it's children who provide this feeling. For me, it came from nurturing my lively bunch. I felt pleasure and pride to see their cognitive and physical maturation, their growth, and their newly acquired abilities. In addition, the pets gave the possibility to leave home. During COVID-19, we had a lockdown, a period in which people were not allowed to leave home. However, those with animals were allowed to take care of them. Having said that, I considered that no one at the checkpoint would believe that a Jew would feed animals in the Palestinian Authority. Therefore, I used my laissez-passer as psychologist to get through the border. And by the way, in the picture you see Brownie on the right, the dog without name, and I will get back to her later, and relatives of Isabella. Pets enhanced social contact. COVID-19 was a lonely period, especially for those who are single. In contrast with Israel and the Palestinian Authority, life continued as regular. Therefore, through the animals, I made several Palestinian friends, among others, the butchers, though I don't eat meat. In one of the messages, I described how once in the middle of tensions between the Palestinians and Israelis, I came by to take leftovers for the dog, and one butcher called out, "The Jew, I love you," which was both heartwarming and embarrassing as well. I also became friends with tenants staying at Ahmed's place and taking care of the dogs when I was not around. One of the tenants is Abu Fahad, who you can see here in the picture. In addition, there were many chats with friends and family around the animals. They were always interested to see how things were going with this cat or that dog, and I received support from them, at least from some of them, when pets were ill or died. Pets enhanced my professional work as well. Several clients wanted Isabella to join the therapy and asked where she is if she was not around. And I used stories on Brownie in my classes. Pets were a source for collaborative physical activity, play and fun. Taking care of the animals keeps me fit, for example through the distribution of water and food, which I do several times a week. In addition, during the lockdown I stopped frequenting the gym. Exercising at home with Isabella around was more enjoyable as she would participate. I'm kind of a workaholic, and on the premises of my friend's estate I gave myself time to relax, sometimes just sitting in the sun with a cup of coffee. This did require, though, to ignore the separation wall, a symbol of oppression which could be seen easily. Another aspect is having fun together, like here with Boof, who loves being tickled. And with my cat I play games, and as I wrote in one of the messages, my mood is fine. With Isabella around, there's no way I could go down. The boundary between fun and annoyance is not that clear. Isabella's obsession started a bit before my holidays, but the syndrome was full-blown when I returned 3 weeks later. I think one could diagnose her with an obsessive-compulsive disorder, as it continues for hours. She's not able to stop it, and it causes substantial dysfunction in her and substantial distress in me. It's all about shadows. Whenever she detects one, she will go after it. They're always quicker than she. It drives me crazy. Sometimes I get so annoyed that I even have considered helping her seize one, only a little one, just to calm her down. Pets provided an opportunity for intimacy and touch. During COVID-19, No touching was allowed, not even shaking hands. For 2 years I was more intimate with animals than with humans. I would stroke, hug and cuddle them. More than that, being close to Isabella had a calming effect. She would just be lying or sitting next to me, and that would calm me down. We touched once in a few hours, either on her or on my initiative. When talking about intimacy and touch, a special place gets the dog without name. The dog without name appeared from nowhere at a time we only had Brownie. She was always excited to see me and all over me with her hugs and licks. This to the dismay of my Palestinian friends, who consider dogs to be impure and touching them as not done. Giving her a name would be a sign of adoption, which was too much for my friends to handle. So she was left with the name, the dog without name. With time, I fell in love with her, and we had a close relationship. However, at some point she was poisoned and passed away. And I wrote, I really wanted to die out of sadness. In the meantime, I am better. Ahmed, who saw the sadness of both Brownie and me about this loss, surprised us with the 2 then tiny boofs. And that's how the 2 boofs came into our lives. Time has passed, and I cherish fond memories of the intimacy with the dog without name. The period of the COVID-19 pandemic was highly stressful, anxiety-provoking, and repressive for many. People were afraid of their health, couldn't travel to see their family and friends, and had to adapt continuously to new rules. Clearly, for me, who has anyway a tendency to become anxious and depressed, I'd expected my well-being to deteriorate. This didn't happen, and my understanding is that it was primarily because of my pets. This study exemplifies the complexity of the human-animal encounter and makes it evident that there are both beneficial and detrimental effects of the relationship with pets. Without animals during COVID-19, my well-being would have been worse. I would have been more isolated, more anxious, and I expect more depressed. Thus, the human-animal bond had a therapeutic effect. The study also shows how these effects depend substantially on the specific human being, the specific animals, social, cultural, and geopolitical context, and to some extent on fate. Much in this tale is related to my personality and life choices. The various animals, even though all cats and dogs, had highly different personalities and attachment styles. Living conditions and the fact that I'm an Israeli Jew and the animals are in the Palestinian Authority affected the situation. The numerous instances of illness and death had impact as well. These factors need to be taken into account in other cases when considering if having an animal could be therapeutic. There is a delicate balance between beneficial and detrimental effects of having pets. Both personality and choice affect the perception of the human-animal bond. Thus, the perception of beneficial aspects as outweighing the burden is not self-evident. I'm quite an introvert, enjoy the company of animals, and choose to see the positive side of life. Not everyone is like that. So what may be therapeutic for one could be adversary for another. This brings me to the end of this personal study on pets' well-being and COVID-19. I hope you found it of interest. In the name of Isabella, my lively bunch and myself, I would like to thank you for joining us.